Hello everyone, I'm Dick Tango. Today we're going to be talking about the best high accuracy long range ARs for Warzone. Those are going to be the Kilo 141 and the M13, so I'll get into the pros and cons of those, how they compare, and how you may be wanting to run these guns in Warzone. I'll also get briefly into the Grau 556. I know that gun is fairly similar to these, but I don't think it quite matches up, so I'll get into the details of why. A quick reminder, I do stream over on Twitch. My name is right here above my head, twitch.tv/DickTango, as well as down in the description, so definitely stop on over, give me a follow if you want to see when I come online. We have a great time over there, and I'd love to see more of you from YouTube stop by. Also, I know a lot of you are not currently subscribed. I'm getting a lot more views than I've got subscribers at the moment, and so I've got a lot of good content coming. Please definitely drop me a subscribe if you'd like to see more. And if you do like the video or have any comments on it, feel free to give a like or dislike or a comment. I'd love to know your feedback. I've got a few technical updates, as you may notice, a new mic. So if you have any comments on any of that, feel free to leave it. To get into the details here, I'm going to cover first the builds of the Kilo and the M13 that I'm going to be comparing. That's going to be the monolithic suppressor, longest barrel, VLK. The comparisons work just as fine for say a holographic sight. I do actually have a video of why you may be wanting to run the VLK or the holo, depending on whether or not you have your field of view turned up or are running independent or affected ADS, or if you're on console. So go ahead and check that video out. It should pop up on the screen if you haven't seen it yet. It's very informative if you don't already know how all of that works, and may help you choose a better optic for your guns. I'm going to be doing the Commando foregrip and the 60-round mag here on the Kilo, and then basically everything is exactly the same on the M13, except for on one of these comparisons, I'm also going to be using the Ranger foregrip. Longest barrel though, monolithic VLK 60-round mags. The Ranger I do think is a better fit for the M13, and I'm going to go ahead and show you a recoil comparison actually of these guns in a minute here, and show you why I think the Ranger is a much better fit than the Commando on this gun. Real quick to cover the Grau 556, I've got a quick comparison of the stats. The big reason I don't think this gun quite matches up is while it does have really nice handling stats, it's got the quickest ADS out of the three, very nice movement speed. Even the M13 actually has better ADS movement speed, which is very, very useful for ARs because this lets you like strafe at a distance, and it's really hard for people to track you in a lot of cases while you're strafing like that. And it doesn't quite have the damage comparison the Grau doesn't. So all the way up in this closest range, under 48 meters in chest-only shots, it barely beats out the M13 and loses to the Kilo. Let's say in this mid-range versus the Kilo, between here at about 48 meters and here at about 75 meters, you're losing out by a pretty significant amount, and then it also has a slower time to kill at the longest range. Plus, since it's the lowest fire rate of the three, if you miss one bullet, you're going to be punished more for it in your time to kill. And then if you look at the DPS charts, it is across the board slowest. A lot of people will be surprised to find out that the M13 does this well at DPS. So in any situation where you're not at a perfect 3 plates, your enemy's not at a perfect 3 plates, a lot of those situations are going to come out in the M13's favor, even above the Kilo, but definitely above the Grau. And that holds up if you go to stomach or headshots or leg shots. You are just basically at a damage disadvantage on the Grau in all of these cases. So that's just the quick of why I'm not going with the Grau here. It has really nice iron sights, so I think it best is fit into either a loadout with a shotgun where you want something that is fairly mobile that you can keep out while you're running around from place to place, so that if someone comes out 40 meters away, you're not completely screwed until you weapon swap. So running an iron sight Grau with like a tac laser, maybe even the 50-round mag to increase your move speed is great for like those loadouts or for a ghost loadout. But I definitely don't really think it matches up with the Kilo and the M13. And when you compare recoil, it goes the same exact way. So here I've got recoil charts for the Grau, M13, and Kilo. These two on the left are the Grau with the Commando on the far left, and then the Ranger foregrip on the second to left here. And as you can see with the Ranger, there's a lot of side-to-side bounce, like a really significant amount of side-to-side bounce. And when you're talking about very long range shooting, that matters a lot. So you can't be using the Ranger to reduce the total vertical recoil. You really do have to use the Commando on the Grau. And when you do that, you have an extremely high amount of vertical recoil, at least compared to the M13 and the Kilo. Now, I do think that this vertical recoil path, since it is barely going off to one side, is pretty easy to account for. You're gonna have to move your mouse or your controller stick more than the other two, but it is more or less straight down. Still, between the higher amount of recoil and the lower amount of damage, I do not think the gun really quite matches up when it comes to max range ARs. The other valuable comparisons to be making here is how little the Commando helps with any side-to-side bounce on the M13. So here we have number 3 is the M13 with a Ranger, and number 4 we have the M13 with a Commando foregrip. And while you do lose some vertical recoil control on the Commando, you don't really gain anything from the side-to-side bounce control that the Commando gives you. So really the Ranger, I think, is the way to go. Still gives you that aiming stability that the Commando gives you, but it also just reduces the vertical recoil amount. Honestly, both with the M13 and the Kilo, I think you can get away with running no foregrip if you want something that's just a little bit better handling. Give it a try to see if you like the Kilo with no foregrip and attack laser instead, and same with the M13. But personally, I want to really maximize my effectiveness at long range with these guns, so I stick with the foregrips. I run the Commando on the Kilo, and I run the Ranger on the M13. You can also run the Operator on the M13. It's the same recoil control, but you do miss out on a little bit of the aiming stability. What it does get you is no move speed penalty. So if you're, say, running a shotgun as your secondary, or if you want to do your ghost loadout, where your secondary is very limited on range, maybe give that a try with the M13. As you can see, though, comparing the M13 to the Kilo, this is one of the reasons I still think the Kilo is the best. It barely moves. These are all 60-round mag comparisons, by the way, and this is such a tiny amount of recoil. It's absurd. Inside like 60 meters, you can basically aim lower torso and let the recoil carry you up into the upper chest and maybe to the head without doing any recoil control on your own. All you have to do is make sure that the left-leaning recoil doesn't carry you off target. And since you're probably going to be tracking them moving anyway, you barely have to do anything. And inside like 35 meters, you can just basically hit all torso shots without doing anything at all. It's really simple. And since the Kilo doesn't have any penalty, and same with the M13, but since the Kilo doesn't have any penalty to hitting chest shots versus stomach shots to the same exact damage, and even leg shots, there's so many scenarios in which you barely have to do anything to control the recoil on this gun. It's really absurd. Now, the M13 does have less side-to-side variance, so at extremely long ranges, if you're good at controlling its recoil pattern, you are capable of hitting more bullets on target, and the damage actually supports that too. It has a better time to kill at very long ranges since it only has one damage drop off. So really, the Kilo versus M13 here is going to be a mid-range damage and amount of physical recoil control compensation you have to do versus the longest range damage and the handling advantages the M13 has, as well as the cost of having a higher amount of recoil to compensate for. Let's go look over at the stats between these two real quick. This is with the Ranger, by the way, on the M13. You'll have a better ADS if you run the Commando, but with the Commando on the Kilo and the Ranger on the M13, you have a very slight ADS boost or benefit to the M13 here. A solid movement speed and ADS movement speed advantage, and only a slight but an existing bullet velocity disadvantage on the M13 here. Really, I don't think you could possibly notice. Going to the base stats here, I want to look at the RPM. The RPM on the M13 is way higher than the Kilo, which is both a blessing and a curse. It's a good thing because if you miss a single bullet, the time to the next bullet to hit the target is a lot less. That means missing shots is a smaller cost to your time to kill. What the problem here is there's less damage per mag until you get out into the very long ranges, and there's also just a bigger tax on your ammo pool. It's going to take away your ammo quicker. That means that you're going to want to either have a munitions box around or just make sure that you're looting properly to keep your ammo reserves up. As you can see here, both of these guns have no difference in leg and arm shots versus stomach and chest, which is really nice. They both have a 1.5 headshot multiplier, so you get basically the same results if you're looking at head, chest, and stomach shots for time to kill. It's really all basically the same. The M13 gets a little closer with headshots here, but DPS, the Kilo loses a little bit to the M13 in most cases, but that's because it's like average DPS. When you're just gonna, with only you shooting at a target, kill a target outright, the Kilo is going to beat the M13 all the way out until about 88 meters, which is a pretty significant distance. Outside of those distances, the time to kill does matter less, but the M13 is straight up going to let you get more kills at a very long range. So keep that in mind when you look at the M13. It's going to just enable you to kill people at very long ranges. The time to kill isn't completely useless out there. If they're crossing a field going from cover to cover, you only have a limited amount of time before they get back into cover, maybe pull out a sniper rifle or call an airstrike on you or something like that, and you really want to be able to get on target, take down the target, maybe get the full kill, and move to your next target before they get to cover. So those really long-range engagements the M13 excels at. The Kilo has much better mid-range time to kill in almost every scenario, so that's where it really takes an advantage over the M13. If you're really just a god at headshots, though, the M13 is also really good. And then the M13 gets yet another advantage by the fact that the more times you hit somebody, the more they get bullet flinch trying to shoot back at you. And since the M13 has such a higher fire rate, it is going to be much harder for the enemy to return fire hitting them with an M13 than hitting them with a Kilo. So yet another one of those things about the M13 that isn't immediately apparent that makes it a better gun. If I was going to give these guns a score out of, say, 100 right now for these roles, I'd give the Kilo 100 out of 100. I think it really is the best gun for this in Warzone. But I give the M13 like a 97 or a 98. Its ammo limitation and close range damage do hurt it compared to the Kilo a little bit, but there are so many upsides to this gun as well that it really is just an excellent one to run. Give it a try. If the M13, or sorry, if the Kilo gets nerfed at any point, the M13 is immediately going to be the best long-range AR. It is very close already, and the Kilo is more popular because it is just better, in my opinion, and in a lot of other people's opinions. But the M13 is very close behind. So if you don't like the feel of the Kilo because it goes up into the left, say with a recoil, maybe give the M13 a try because it is a very similar and very strong gun. Let's go ahead and get into the game and just compare how they feel. And we'll compare the Ranger versus the Commando for the M13 versus the Kilo. And I'll show you also how the Commando doesn't really do anything for visual recoil because the M13 has very little visual recoil. So first, I'm going to show you the Kilo, what its visual recoil pattern looks like. Let's go ahead and get over to this spot. All right, so when you're shooting, and I'm going to do correction here. There's a little bit of movement. Gosh, I'm literally overcorrecting for the recoil on this. It's so minimal. I mean, think if you've got somebody, I'm going to throw a spray on here of a person, and that's going to be a smaller than an actual person is. And if I just want to hit torso shots from this range, I don't have to do anything to stay on target. Like, it just barely moves. I did, like, almost no correction there to stay on target. And the fire rate is nice because while it is higher than some of the others like the Grau, it's not quite so high like the M13 that you chew through your ammo so quick. Let's go ahead and take a look at the M13 real quick, though. The M13's much higher fire rate is definitely going to make it feel it's a little odd because you chew through your ammo, but you're also just shooting not a lot of damage per bullet. So a lot of people have issues with the M13 being a bit of a pea shooter, and they feel like they hit so many bullets but they don't get kills. Without any control here at all, there's almost no visual movement. That red dot's barely wobbling at all in the middle of that VLK optic. It does have a larger amount of vertical recoil to account for, so you're gonna have to move your mouse or your stick more than the Kilo, but it's not insane. I'm pretty bad at up into the right recoil control patterns, so that's why I prefer the Kilo to the M13 overall, but I know a lot of people, like ones that ran the M4 back in the day, had trouble adjusting to the Kilo, so the M13 might be a really great fit for them. And then this is, of course, the Commando. There's almost no movement on that red dot, but if we switch over to the Ranger, which helps with the vertical recoil more, and doesn't theoretically help with the side-to-side bounce, it's basically exactly the same though with this gun. There's so little wobble on this gun, so little side-to-side bounce, so little visual recoil, that you basically get the exact same result for that aspect, but you get better vertical recoil control. So I'm just going to do another quick one here. And yeah, as you can see, there's almost no rock on that red dot, maybe a tiny bit more, but it's so minimal that I'd much rather have the vertical recoil control. And it makes it just really nice and easy to keep on track. You just put your mouse or your stick down and to the left a little bit, and you get a nice and easy to control recoil pattern. Just stays right on target. It's real simple to do. These guns are both incredibly accurate, which means you're going to be hitting your shots reliably. The big comparison to make between these and say the RAM and the AMAX, the RAM and the AMAX that I did in the video a couple weeks ago, these do have less damage, but you're going to be getting an effective time to kill that is better in a lot of situations, either in situations where the target is on, say, like a head glitch or partially behind cover, or at very long ranges. You get the damage range benefits, and compared to the AMAX, you get bullet velocity benefits, and you're also just going to be hitting more shots. And there's something kind of unmeasurable about hitting your shots that feels right. When you're reliably hitting targets, even if you're getting an average, slightly slower time to kill, you may find yourself starting to do, I don't know if you've ever watched Symphony, you'll see him do this, where he does it to bait people into thinking he's cheating, but he'll finish a target and then snap over to the next target. And you'll find yourself actually going to the next target as soon as you know you've downed somebody, if you run one of these, the M13 or the Kilo, a lot, because you know you're hitting shots. It's so reliable, it's so accurate that you know how many bullets it is to kill somebody, and it takes no effort to get a feel for how long it's going to take to down them. So you just are ready for the next target. You're ready to do the next thing. You're ready to move to the next cover. And there's something about that really makes up for some of the time to kill disadvantage versus like the AMAX and the RAM. Getting really comfortable with one of these guns is going to help you be more reliable in your Warzone games. So I would definitely recommend giving one of these a shot. Even if you do like to run the AMAX or the RAM a lot, or if you're running sniper loadouts most of the time, having one of these high accuracy ARs in your arsenal, being able to reliably run these, is absolutely huge. It's a great asset to have. Just have constant, reliable damage. Because even if you're not taking these crazy fights where you're killing multiple people and you're not getting that time to kill advantage where it lets you clutch out the 1v3 or 1v4, every time you get into a fight, you're going to be doing damage. You're going to be doing good damage. And that's going to help your team more reliably when you aren't maybe playing 100%, or when things are going a little odd in the fight, things are not going as planned. You're still going to be able to put out damage, down people, and win fights more reliably. That's the whole gist of it here, really. The M13 and the Kilo are very comparable. If you're still having trouble deciding between the two, I'll go ahead and summarize. The Kilo is an up and to the left recoil pattern with a much smaller overall amount of recoil. And I'll go back to that visual real quick. So if up and to the left doesn't bother you, the Kilo, I think, is the way to go. But if you're wanting to maximize the extremely long range, if you're trying to take down targets at, say, 150 meters, and you're better at up and to the right recoil control, or you really like the feel of the high RPM, the high rounds, high fire rate that the M13 offers, give that a try. It does have, like I said, the downside of eating through more ammo. So I think almost everybody should be running the Kilo and not the M13. But if the Kilo gets nerfed at any point, the M13 is going to be the best long-range AR. Or if you have problems with the Kilo and something about the feel of it does not sit right with you, then the M13 is the way to go. If you all liked the video, Give it a like. If you had any problems with it, feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to learn and grow and improve my content. Again, I do stream over on Twitch, so check out that link in the description. Thanks for stopping in and watching. Have a wonderful day.